Hello everyone, welcome to Frequency Bone Summer Music Connection 12, Video 4 of Music and the Natural Worlds. Now, when you're building a relationship with nature, you start to feel the acute differences that are apparent every day. And as we all know, not every day is the same. And there's several reasons for that would contribute to our environments and our atmospheres around us and outside of us that would make differences very apparent in any given day. We know that we physically don't feel the same every day. At least I don't. And never did. And we know that when we play our instruments, we don't always feel exactly as spiffy as we did perhaps on another day. I loved when a student says, if I'll talk to them, well, how's your range coming along? Let's say your upper range. And one of the first answers is, it depends on the day. On a good day. Reminds me of a song. I can't remember who wrote the song, but my father used to listen to it a lot in the 60s. It was called On a Clear Day, You Can See Forever. And it's marvelous having one of those clear days, isn't it? Where mentally we feel with it. Our body is supporting us. And it's one of those days that you feel you're with it. And you don't feel it's against you. Or you're against it. Whatever the perception is. So today, Dr. V and I were driving around looking for she was looking for places to do some foraging of some roses and things, some wild roses. And it started raining even before we went out this morning. And we thought, we'll be fine. And we were. We were driving around. It was fine. The rain had stopped and things were okay. It was still a bit cloudy, but nothing that, you'd feel, wow, I better go back home. And so she's finding some things and we're looking at these roses and the clouds were really big and wonderful. They reminded me of some of the clouds I used to see as a child in Minnesota on the farm, or when I lived in Florida for a year, when there's a lot of humidity, these big cumulus clouds, they just look like incredible beings and just incredible shapes and textures, and I love them. And I noticed this one, and it was a little dark underneath it. It was really white and billowing and the sun was shining on it in a certain way, outlining it. Very, very clear. The diction of the clouds' formations were very sharpened and vivid. And I noticed this part getting a little darker underneath it, and pretty soon it was dark. In not a lot of time, all of a sudden the sky started to get, hey, this is getting dark. And I said, we might want to get going. This cloud looks like it's coming close, and these clouds are getting very kind of that dark, ready to storm feeling. And I said it, again, and right after I said it about the third time, we were both feeling this is time to get going, the temperatures dropped quickly dropped. Started to feel a few drops, And then those drops became a few more drops, and pretty soon a lot of drops. Ran into the car and started driving, and it was really coming down. I mean, it needs it around here. It's been dry, humid, and not a lot of rain. But yesterday, and then with this storm, that helped. But the rain got incredibly heavy. So we had to pull off, take an exit and pull into a parking lot somewhere. And then it really picked up. The wind was really blowing. The trees were bending, and the car was like, like feeling in a boat. And hail then started to come, and my mind thought of the William Tell overture and the storm scene, because I always think that trombone is hail. But this was a lot of hail, but they were small. It wasn't like when I was in Colorado, when we were both in Colorado a few years ago, and the hail was, bigger than a golf ball and broke the windshield of the car we were renting. But just feeling the whole timing, the whole weather changes. And if I had to put a tempo to these things, in thinking of the different storm scenes that have been written in music, there is a build-up to it. And it starts to get quiet, but there's a build-up to it until finally, boom, and then you can feel it come in. And that's exactly what happened. It built up slowly, but then it hit a critical mass, and it seemed like subito. All of a sudden the temperature went, suddenly changed. And so all the cues and clues beforehand were interesting. Like the clouds looking really big, but then starting to get a little darker, a little closer, a lot closer. The winds building up, subtly, but then the temperature, when that temperature dropped, we felt a couple of drops before that, but as soon as that temperature drops, the rain started like coming in like, it's hard to describe actually. It felt like little bits being really thrown at you kind of hard. It just wasn't like the and then it really escalated quickly. You had to pull off the road. At least I did, because I couldn't see. And you know what? If you can't see on the road, it's definitely good to get off. So my second overlay said, it's time to get off. I don't care how good you think your first overlay is at driving. If you can't see, that means part of your first overlay is having a problem. A very important part of your first overlay. I wasn't thinking all that in my mind. I was just observing now and saying that was part of what was going on. And everything turned out fine. But it was really interesting, and the rain lasted a long time, and when it settled down, we drove back home. And it was still raining pretty hard, even on the way back. So now it's nice out, it's sunny out. It's amazing all the different parts there are in one day. One day is a small composition or dance or painting. For the earth. One day. Because an Earth day isn't the same day as other planets, even in our solar system. Mercury's day is as long as the year. A year on some of the outer planets is equivalent to like over 200 years of our 1 year. So it's marvelous just feeling this and watching the different color changes, the timbre changes, the rhythm changes, the pitch changes. Now, pitch is just not pitch is just not sound that's heard. And there was a lot of that, thunder. But the pitch of the lightning before the thunder, you could say the timbre, but it incited a certain pitch inside of the person. So pitch is a measurement of intensity. And that bright white, slight yellowish tinge of that lightning is just sometimes really blinding. And watching the movements of the trees and all this, it was real, a lot of music going on at a very intense, stormy level. And the phrase, and eventually, it took a while before it settled down. Then it was still raining very, very hard, thunder, and eventually, things quiet, and all of a sudden you notice, oh, it's quiet. It's quiet now. There's different timbres outside. There's different rhythms going on outside. The pitch is different. It's more, before it's, your vowels are getting in there. We're going, wow! Did you see that lightning? Hey, this hail is getting really bad. So our vocalizations and sounds that come out of us represent a music that's in response to what we're actually feeling. And it has its own rhythms, okay? And pitches and timbres. But boy, that, wow, it's quiet, it's calm. The element of what's going on here, when's this going to end? Settled. So I really didn't think this video was going to be about that, but I think it's interesting to take note of weather. When we're playing certain pieces, you ever think, what is the weather? Is this piece humid? And we've talked about this with breathing. Going, which is the most open syllable. Which is the most open syllable. And very, very closed. The vowels, a lot of them like a G or K, and you hold it there, it's totally closed. Open. The most open part of the word of open is the O. Amen. For example. So, all things are in all things, as a great mentor of mine said. So after the storm, I don't know, I feel like playing just a nice something, more relaxed. It was so relaxed that nothing came out. But you know what? It's nice not to have to worry. if you're listening to this and you think, you know what? It doesn't make any difference to me. For the clouds go as they come, and so do the notes. So, there you go. Why not have fun with a little ditty once in a while?